Well, my father's a cowboy and Indian painter in Texas, so my experience has always been around paintings since I was a baby. We lived in a house trailer full of oil paintings. I got interested in modern art when I was about 11 years old and became, super art nerd and went to art school and majored in painting. Along the way, I saw Zap Comics. I graduated in 74 and I really couldn't get work in Texas. I worked as a janitor. I worked as a color separator at a print company and I really wanted to pursue my arts. And I went to New York and had a look, and it was a little too scary for me at that point. And and LA had palm trees, so I thought I'll go to LA. And I was in LA for about 10 years, and punk rock happened while I was in LA, so it was a fun time. I was already had been looking for a place for my work to fit, really my graphic work, my cartoon work, and it fit in that scene. When I went to talk to the editors of Slash, they were nice people. Punk rock was really an art movement, and it was for the reject kids in a way, the nerds ruled at that point, and I could really fit into that. I could relate to that. And it was really fun and a funny scene and a lot of really smart people. And then over time it changed. Became visible in LA doing commercial art and having a lot of art shows. People knew who I was. And Paul Rubens, Pee Wee, noticed me and asked me to do a poster for a stage show. When we met, I said I'd like to design everything. And he said, okay. I'd kind of been studying for the job all my life in some ways because besides being an art nerd, I never lost interest in toys. And it seemed to me that the kind of toys you give kids to play with form them in a way, and I'm still interested in that. There's really nice things and there's really scary things, and you don't get to really choose. I mean, you can try to hang out with nice people, but the smog monsters come along too occasionally. Every medium has its own challenges and strengths and limitations, and so I really like jumping from medium to medium. All my paintings, I mean, they have that traditional thing of like some kind of background and then some kind of object on the field. And this is really simple. It's just one coat of white paint on top of the background. And I'm interested in doing variations. In my mind, they're related to cubism in a way because my paintings are pretty flat. And the cartoons that I do, which are, again, it's a different track, are more experimental than a lot of comic strips, but in some ways the drawing is very traditional. All my comic strip stories take place on Mars and involve monsters and people and space colonies and stuff. Early in my career, my work was more bizarre and science fiction-like, and now it's really more like cross-hatching from the 1700s. And I use dip nibs. There's nothing technological about this. There's nothing electronic. I like that. So I draw in sketchbooks. And so since about 1969, when I discovered empty books, I've been drawing in books, so I have like, hundreds of them by now. This one's from the 80s. And so most of my ideas start in sketchbooks and then turn into something else. The traditional term cartoon meant a study for a painting, like Michelangelo did cartoons for the Sistine Chapel. And so these are cartoons for paintings. So I just do these as another activity, hoping that there'll be something in them that wants to be a painting. Some of the books are very much finished and they're like books that want to be published, and some are just idea books that I'm dumping all my ideas into. When I was young, I sat around and waited, for a good idea. And now I just start drawing because I figure if I get warmed up, then I'm more likely to have a good idea than sitting around waiting for one to happen. But what I've been drawing all my life are like dinosaurs. I prefer naive drawings rather than slick drawings. All my life I've always liked crude graffiti, before graffiti got all sorted out. Naive drawing, children's drawings, crazy people drawings. And then weird things like everyone draws like the five-sided star or the Star of David, but most people don't draw the seven-sided star or the eight-sided star. There's a lot of little geometric things hanging around the room, and I am interested in how things go together. If it's interesting, I keep doing variations of it. I started making things out of chopsticks years ago. I like stuff that's made from nothing. I mean, there's many variations. Like this is like one just made out of toothpicks and glue, you know. But if you put like a lenticular lens in front of it, then it becomes some other kind of visual stimulation. So I'm interested in everything visual. But my identity has always been as a painter. One thing I think that I do is synthesize things, taking things that are very much unlike and trying to find what the common ground is with them. And you can find new territory there. I'm always looking for those neglected places to explore. I'm interested in evidence of humanity. And some of the evidence is very lofty, and some is tattoos and toys and things like that. It's not really about money, it's about obsession. It's about making another one of these crazy things and then seeing what the next idea is that comes along. And there's something really wonderful about that.